130 infants have died. That's just the number of the infants that has been reported. We've not been told mothers, we've not been told fathers, young people, all these people.
I take it first to the government of President William Ruto that instead of addressing the strike in Kiambu, they were discussing how Kiambu should become autonomous.
Hey there, and welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa. Another week means we have Fanya Mambo in studio today. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
Leo hata umekuja with a tie. Looking good.
It's one thing I avoid deliberately. I am not a tie person, though my career now, lawyers are supposed to be in a tie most of the time. So it's one thing I avoid, but anyway, here we are. It's okay. Kako leo katai tu.
Looking good.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. How has been your week?
My week was good. I think my weekend actually was beautiful. Not so eventful. I had just attended the Wiper thing on Friday at, Uhuru Park. And then, it was a beautiful week, I must say.
All right. Great to hear that. Now, I want us to start with a very... it's a sad story for me because this news, yesterday, doctors, KMPDU members joined doctors of Kiambu County in a protest because these doctors have been on strike. Today marks 139 days and their issues have not been addressed as yet. So, and the sad part is within those 4 months they've been on strike, 130 infants have died. That's just the number of the infants that has been reported. We've not been told mothers, we've not been told fathers, young people, all these people. Why are we as a country so comfortable to be losing lives and move on like, nothing happened?
I take it first to the government of President William Ruto that instead of addressing the strike in Kiambu, they were discussing how Kiambu should become autonomous. A region that is outside Mount Kenya. Yani, munakuja munasema kuna doctor strike Kiambu. And then this clueless government tells you that we should be discussing how Kiambu is going to leave Mount Kenya. That's the only thing they have said about Kiambu. I think it's a high time we stop devolution of health. Health should not be devolved. Health ikuwe kama education, irudi kwa national government. And this should be done immediately. If there was ever a time we needed to have a constitutional amendment, is this one. Si zile zao za ujinga za 7 years. This one. Health needs to go. And in fact, all nations that use common sense do not devolve health. Health must remain a national government policy. I'll tell you why. National government is rich at national level with systems, with information, with policy, with bureaucracy, they know how to run things at a national level. Our counties are not even ready to run their own kindergartens, leave alone health. So health should not be devolved. If there's one time I have ever supported an idea that would go towards amending the constitution, is to remove health from one of the devolved functions. It should never have been devolved. That was a big mistake from the word go. But secondly, coming even to the person of the governor of Kiambu, Wamatangi, how do I say shame on you in a nice way?
I don't think these
because
are nice way.
Wamatangi, shame on you. Are you aware that Kiambu County government has killed more people than Al in this country? In fact, Al-Shabaab in 5 years has not killed 130 people. Kiambu County government literally has killed those children. Because if I was the governor, I would stop everything. Stop everything else other than salaries. Don't even do one more develop. Izi ujinga tunajana umejenga boda shade imeandikwa Wamatangi. Stop everything. And focus on life. And focus on health first. Yeah? Don't even build a new road when you're killing infants. It's useless. Munajengea tu barabara mpya wabebe maiti ya mtoto ikipeleka kuzika. What is the road for? So Kiambu is a total shame. If you want to understand the county government of Kiambu, just place the county government of Kiambu here and place Al-Shabaab here and ask who has killed more people. The county government of Kiambu has killed more people than Al-Shabaab in the last 3 months. In fact, what they've killed in 3 months, Al-Shabaab has not killed in 3 years. So it is a terrorist outfit. In fact, Al-Shabaab is better in the eyes of people now than Kiambu. county government. I mean, their officers are roaming all over. Jaribu kwenda kujenga hata kibanda ya kuku. They are there. Do you have a permit? But we don't have officers in charge of health. They have so much gusto, so much energy. Jaribu uende mahali, Kikuyu or anywhere, park your car. Forget to pay for parking. There is a breakdown ready to clamp you. Get sick in Kiambu. There is no ambulance for you. Is this how we were supposed to run counties? Surely. But that there is there's a breakdown available at every opportunity, but there's no ambulance available. There is a county officer to arrest you for not paying county license, but there is no county officer to provide medical services to you as a person. What is more critical? In Kiambu, you can die of a snake bite, but you cannot get away with not paying a business permit. Hii ndio sasa inaitwa, kwa Kikuyu inaitwa Orimo. You know, Kiambu is a Kikuyu county. Ujinga, it's foolishness of the highest order.
I know it's, despite the fact that it's a devolved function, where does the CS for health come in? Or even the president for that, or the Ministry of Health as a whole? Because 4 months is such a long time. Because then is it because we devolved, then they can sit and just move on like nothing happened?
You see, I have told Kenyans the reasons we are having the problems we are having. I saw Uhuru Odinga tell us Baba is in India.
Yeah.
I saw the governor of Nakuru going to give birth in the US and coming to tell us like it's a very good thing. Let me tell you, if the things that are happening today happened in the US, the Minister for Health would resign. How can you, as a person who is a leader in a country, go and seek medical health outside the country? And then you are lying to us that SHA is working. If SHA was working, Susan Kihika should have given birth here. If SHA was working, Raila Amolo Odinga should have been treated here. You're pushing down on our throats things that don't work. And then you pretend when you fall sick, you're not party to this. Mimi nilisema, let's make it clear. No senior government officer should leave this country to seek medical health else. In fact, every governor must be treated within his own county.
Even Wamatangi.
Wamatangi should, when he falls sick, we are not praying that he falls sick, but also God can do us a favor, amfanya ukuwe mgonjwa kidogo. He should be treated in Kiambu. This nonsense of somebody falls sick, they go to South Africa, they go to India, that is what is making our healthcare fail, nothing else.
But
do you know
I
abroad,
still want to understand
the worst
why
case
is
scenario,
CS Duale quiet about it?
Duale,
I mean, he's
because
the CS.
this is not SHA. This doesn't have money. Duale, we know the things he talks about. He talks about telling NTV to become a health outfit. He talks about telling the Catholic Church they're out of order. He talks about the by-elections that are happening all over. In fact, he's the CS for health. The other day, I heard him talking about how UDA is going to win the next by-elections. And he's aware that in this new constitutional dispensation, CSs are supposed to divorce themselves from politics. So you are a CS discussing politics, and health is in a mess. Obviously, what did you expect when you appointed Duale CS for health? He doesn't care about human life. He has proven he doesn't care about humanity. And all the time, can you imagine 139 children dying? You know, if a Boeing 707 was to crash today, and maybe just had 30 passengers on board, that would be international news.
Yeah.
30 people have died in a plane crash. 130 young souls are dead. And we are moving on okay. This is a terrorist outfit. The Minister for Health by now should have resigned.
Do you think we have a problem as Kenyans? Because I don't understand how that news came and then
What do we do? We've protested so many times. Let me tell you. Kenyans are even too resilient. Leo ni SHA haifanyi munaenda kwa streets. University lecturers hawafanyi munaenda kwa streets.
They're still
the
on
next
the
thing,
streets.
as in, there's too many things to demonstrate for. If Kenyans were to demonstrate about everything that Kenya Kwanza is doing badly, would be on the streets every day. But now, so we all have hungry children. I mean, like, for me, I wish I would protest every day. But also my children have to eat. So we have to work. So we are forced to work so that they can get money for their expensive lifestyles at the expense of our children. Like now, ask yourself, how much does Kiambu County government need? The president went to borrow 5 billion for some stupid thing called Nyota, so that they can come and give young people 50,000 shillings per youth. Now, why are you borrowing 5 billion to give 50,000 young people? You only bribe by then you vote. Because they were saying they want to give 100,000 young people, each will get 50,000 to start a business or to run a business or to enhance their business. But how do you go to IMF to borrow 5 billion to empower 100,000 youth, but you have allocated State House 12 billion. Now, wait. The person whose State House is being run on 12 billion a year is borrowing 5 billion from IMF to help 100,000 young people. If you take his 12 billion and divide by 50,000, you will get that President William Ruto, in his annual budget, would have helped in the Nyota program 240,000 young people. So what he's telling you is he gobbles up what 240,000 young people would have gotten if each was given 50,000.
But
so why are you going to borrow 5 billion from IMF?
Practically speaking, if you're to start a business today, give and take, I don't know, kinyozi, what's the estimated amount of money you'd need? Just to look at this empowerment and if it is actually practical.
That is not what is needed. President William Ruto, listen to us. That is not what is needed. The other day, we lost 5 billion shillings worth of tea exports to Sudan.
Yes.
Because of our relationship with rebels in Sudan. Why is there an obsession with giving people money to start a business? Hasn't President William Ruto ever understood that what Kenya needs is market for what is available? For example, if Kenya was to restore our trade ties with Sudan, we would get that 5 billion that we are borrowing from IMF. So you go and kill a tap that was giving you 5 billion and enriching our own farmers, and then you go and borrow that 5 billion to come and bribe young people. Number two, China has an insatiable demand for avocado. Any amount of avocado you can grow, they can buy. So instead of giving young people this 50,000 each, start asking yourselves, what if we created a market for our avocado in China and created a channel through which we can start buying avocado, so that instead of government giving loans to people, people will go to the agricultural circles or whatever circles they are in and wanakopa pesa kidogo ya kununua seedlings. If I was government of Kenya right now, I would not be giving money to young people. I would be giving money to those circles and those small scale institutions that have proven they have a method of lending and recovering.
But they are also accommodated in the Nyota program.
This thing is rubbish. Let me tell you for free. It's a bribery method to make sure that young people vote for this government again. So what Kenya needs, for example, is a market for its tea, for its coffee. There are so many things that we can produce as a nation that we would sell out there. What Kenya needs is to stop importing toothpick 50 years after independence. We need to stop using imported underwear 50 years. Do you know I went to a supermarket, mwiko ya ugali made in China. So as long as tuna import mwiko ya ugali, our staple food, then you are talking of giving people money to start businesses. What for? And they're starting businesses that are competing with China. But first, close some of these doors for importation of things we don't need.
I know the president, in his wisdom, is trying to sort what he promised, create more jobs. But practically speaking, from where you sit, is 50,000 enough for, let's even just give and take a kinyozi business? What would it take, even in terms of licensing, in terms of the materials you need, the seeds, the shaving machines, and all those?
It can't work. It's not gonna work. Watachukua hiyo pesa wakule. The best it can do is buy one car wash machine.
Just
and
one?
Then, yeah, maybe one or two.
So you won't even pay for license and
Nothing
water?
else. Ukienda kwa salon, if a lady wants to have that machine, ya blow dry, nini, get some space, do something. And then also, you see we are in a depressed economy. Nobody is speaking about increasing the size of this economy. Sasa, kila mtu akifungua kinyozi, ama ni akina nani watanyolewa? Ni hao wenye hawana pesa kwa mfuko? Let us first try to inject money into this economy. And one of the ways we can inject money into this economy is stop domestic borrowing. The government must stop borrowing from the local market. Then banks will have excess money and they'll start lending to Kenyans. Now, reasonable amounts. A guy will go and borrow 200,000, 300,000. And banks have a way of recovering back their money. And then that money now is what is going to grow this economy. People will start doing things that make more sense if they borrow from commercial banks. And you just need to start reducing the lending rate. In fact, you don't really need to reduce it. If government stops borrowing from the local market, the lending rates will automatically go down.
Because now it's the citizens.
Yes.
Okay.
They're not paying you as high as banks.
I hope they can take that, because also maybe your take on the in terms of the cost of doing business in Kenya, because you will empower these people or give them whatever amount, let's say even it's 100, but what's the cost of doing business?
You see,
Because you see, if a license to, let's say I want to run a water vending machine, what are the licenses? How much do they cost?
Already you've gone too far. I keep telling people, when you go to Mwea, the cost of moving one bag of rice from the farm to Mwea town is about 800 shillings. Now, when you bring a whole ship of rice and you try to calculate the cost of importing one bag of rice from Pakistan to here, is less than 800 shillings. So if we are using common sense, before we think of very huge things, the amount of rice we import from abroad, the 500, 600,000 metric ton of rice, is a huge employment opportunity for our people. Kuna watu mchele yao inaozea kwa mashamba. So before you think of those fantastic ideas of a kinyozi and everything, just by feeding ourselves as a country, feeding ourselves is a huge employment opportunity for very many people. The number of eggs we are importing from Uganda and Tanzania are so many. And part of the reason is because we can't grow soya, we can't grow millet, we can't grow some of the things that go sorghum into the production of the animal feeds. The egg market alone.
What is stopping us from growing them?
The cost of one, when we want fertilizer, we get donkey shit plus stones. You remove that story. The cost of fertilizer here is crazy. The cost of the seeds themselves. And then the Ministry of Agriculture has just not been seen. Have you ever had the Ministry of Agriculture doing any drive on anything? You know, the way you'd come up and say, we have a serious drive, we want to do something. There is no drive. There's a time when, under Kibaki, and I thank God, when a lot of emphasis was put into fish farming. And a lot of people in Sagana took it up. And you know, by the way, the bulk of fish in Nairobi comes from Sagana now, not from Kisumu, if you didn't know. So, if the Ministry of Agriculture, kuna time where they worked so hard on promoting fish farming, and it became an opportunity for many people, the ones who took it up. There was a time when there was a lot of aggressive campaign for beekeeping.
Yeah.
And very many people got into beekeeping and started having honey, and that honey has found its way to our shelves. Otherwise, we'd be importing all the honey that we need in this country. So before we do rocket science, let us ask ourselves, what food items are we importing? And how can we stop importing those food items? And how many young people would find money from that? Because we're not telling all the people to go and farm, all the young people. Someone will come up with a shop, for example, for value addition of our potatoes, you know, turning them into crisps, turning them into chips, turning them into whatever. Another person will come with something for value addition for our milk. But whenever there's a milk glut, farmers poor, unakamua, unamwaga. We lose a lot of milk. And there are people that are having tea without milk in the morning. So the minute we sit down and say, wait a minute, first from food, how many opportunities can we create? Because when you look at, for example, yogurt, people saying, how many people can add value? Then you remember there are people who will do packaging material. There are people who will do labels. There are people who will do cartons. There are people who will transport. There are people who will become distributors. There are people who will become accountants for those distributors. So the food alone, the food chain alone, if we stop importing food and find a way to produce it aggressively and market, and to stop losses, post-harvest losses, and to ensure that food can leave the farm to where it's needed. There are a lot of things. So instead of building these useless houses that we don't need, so that people can leave their farms in Mwea and come and live in avoidable houses, that money should have gone into building roads from where the commodity is being produced to where it's needed.
But what, in your very wisdom, what do you think is stopping this country from doing all this? Because it doesn't sound like rocket science.
Because of the unwillingness. The people who import rice are the same people who are in government. The people who import maize are the same people in government. The people who import sugar are the same people in government. So they wouldn't want sugar to work.
So that's a systematic...
They will kill Mumias. For sure, they have to import their own rice. You saw it until, and I thank Mother Karua and the United Oppositions for making noise about it. If they hadn't, sasa juu hatu kuimport your rice. Si tunakula rice yetu na hatujakufa. Umesikia shortage ya mchele? There was enough rice here. There was enough rice. Wenye tulipiga kelele hiyo mchele ikakosa kukuja. That's when we discovered we had enough rice. I am telling you, we also have enough sugar in Kenya. Let's just
but
make
farmers
noise
have cut all the sugar cane.
I'll tell you why. This is the Sugar Act I have always told people about that prevents you from processing your own sugar.
Yeah.
You know, a farmer in Kirinyaga can milk his cow and decides to boil his milk or package or turn it into yogurt or do whatever.
Yeah.
But a sugarcane farmer, lazima auzie the millers. If we came up with a system of micro enterprises in the line of sugar, unaambia mtu ukilima sugarcane yako, we have allowed you can, bora we put the KEBS standards. What machine you can squeeze your sugar, turn it into molasses, turn it into sukari nguru, turn it into sugar. Because, you know, there's industrial production of sugar.
Yes.
The big machines. And then there's a smaller one that you can be able to use to make 3 bags, 4 bags, 5 bags. Why don't we allow our farmers to do that?
Are we tied to the colonial? Because I want to believe these were colonial setups that we've held to date. Because when I look at it, the coffee farmers, they are private millers.
Yes.
In coffee. Like
Yes.
you can be your own farmer and doing your own
Even
coffee.
tea, you go to Kericho, kwa barabara unauziwa tea. People package their own tea. So why are we not allowing sugarcane farmers to package their own sugar? Go to Kericho, usimame kwa barabara, unaletewa jani chai mpaka kwa macho hapa ndani. And there are small local industries that we must respect and love and applaud for what they do. So why don't we also do the same for sugarcane? Hiyo tu ndio itafanya sugarcane grow. Mtu ambaye ukiwa na sugarcane yako, you are allowed to do value addition. You are allowed to process it. You can even package. The only thing is we have a KEBS standard so that you don't give people poison.
Yeah.
Ikikuja inapimwa kwa lab. Once in a while wanachukua samples, wanatest. You know, there's a system of checking whether the sugar you're producing is good enough. Kenya will have enough sugar to export.
I don't understand how we've kept that colonial system and let it survive.
That's what they want to do.
63 years later.
Because they want to import sugar and make money. That's all.
So the Western Kenya MPs, what is their role in parliament on this? Because it's the people who vote for them.
Some of them get a small bribe and they forget about Mumias. Some have fought diligently, but many of them, as long as they are bribed and co-opted into the sugar importing cartel, that's it.
Kenyans, we need to wake up and do better for ourselves and fight for what is good. Because it's these small things that end up hurting us as an economy generally. Anyway, now let's move to the politics of Kenya. I think we've handled the current affairs issues. Now, over the long weekend, Friday was a holiday.
Yes.
Something happened on Thursday. We saw Gideon Moi waited by his people, KANU supporters in Baringo to go and present his papers, but he decides no. And then he emerges in State House with President Ruto. What was your feeling? What, did you even expect it to happen?
Number one, on Friday we were told to plant trees. I'll come to that. I, as Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, refused to plant a tree.
You didn't have a land?
No.
Or trees?
I can even plant on the roadside, but I refused. Because I live near Ngong Forest. Na wamekuja wamekatakata Ngong Forest yote alafu wanatuambia tupande miti. Karura is exorcised. If you go to Kikuyu, the forests around there, Kikuyu, zote zimemalizika. Bogoto there, zote zimemalizika. So they are bringing down our forests and then creating a day and telling us to plant trees. Tupande miti mukatakate yote. Shame on you. First stop cutting down our trees and then we shall plant more.
Two wrongs don't make a right though.
No. But what sense does it make? You are planting one tree and someone is cutting them down on an industrial scale.
Wangari Maathai said you have to be the hummingbird. You have to do what is right.
Wangari Maathai taught us one thing. If you leave the forest alone, they regenerate themselves.
That is true.
So why are we being told to plant trees by those people who are then coming to cut them down and turn them into timber?
Maybe convert the fight to
Kwanza wanauza mpaka
preservation
kuni.
of the forest.
Hawana aibu, wanauza mpaka kuni. Anyway, now we were coming to Friday.
Yes.
When Gideon Moi met President William Ruto, he did a good thing. Because, you see, President William Ruto is busy collecting for us all those things that we don't need and putting them in one basket so that in 2027 we just kick that one basket out. You see, we would have had a huge problem trying to figure out the terrible characters that Kenya does not need. President William Ruto has done us a favor. He's collected everything else that we need out, gone forever together and put them in one basket. You've heard, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Now the president is collecting for us all the bad eggs, putting them in one basket so that 2027 when we kick, it is one. And we are not kicking the bucket ourselves. We are kicking a basket full of things we don't need. So that is a commendable thing. Bring them together. I wish President William Ruto well. In fact, I'm clapping for him. I am praying that he's able to collect a few of the other terrible ones and put them together and kick them out together. I'll tell you why. Gideon Moi vied for senator in 2022.
Yes.
And he got 74,000 votes.
Yes.
The winner got 147,000 votes. Do you know how he got 74,000 votes? When he started his campaign and people were putting billboards, he was called by Azimio la Umoja. And he was told, don't worry about the Senate seat. We are going to form the next government and you will be a cabinet secretary. He never campaigned. He never went back to the ground. And his people gave him 74,000 votes. That is how he lost the senatorial seat. He listened to people he thought were more senior than the voters. And still without a campaign, they gave him 74,000 votes. Fast forward, he's now got a chance to vie again. Instead of listening to his voters, what does he do? He listens to President Ruto. Ruto calls, he picks. Why did he pick that call, by the way? So he goes to President William Ruto. Now, I saw for the first time people in Baringo singing Ruto must go. They were chanting Ruto must go. You saw that demonstration?
That was on the day before the following day.
Yes, they went to, because they were angry with him when he said he's not vying.
Yeah.
And guess what? For the first time I heard the people of Baringo saying, wataenda kwa kaburi ya Mzee Moi kwa washtaki Gideon. They are going to Mzee Moi's grave to report Gideon Moi that he's working with William Ruto, remembering very well that his father, Daniel Arap Moi, refused to meet William Ruto. You remember? So they are going to report him there and tell him, wake up, Mzee. Your son has done the unthinkable. So it is, when it gets to that far, it tells you how those people feel about that union. Now, they were there. They were chanting. They were dancing. They are saying Ruto must go. Let me tell you where Ruto lost it. And I thought Mutahingunyi being an advisor to him politically would have given the right political advice. If I was President William Ruto, I would have invited Gideon Moi and told him to vie on a Kanu ticket. And then told him UDA is withdrawing their candidate. So as opposed to the ground saying now Ruto must go, he's forcing UDA on us, would have said, hey, Ruto is our hero, Ruto is our hero. He has shown a willingness and a democracy and the willingness to work with other parties. He's actually given us our Gideon Moi. He respects Gideon Moi. He would have been a hero. Now he's a villain. He's not a hero. Because people are saying he's trying to stifle democracy. People are saying he's trying to make sure there's no by-election. And by the way, if you are popular as you say, and if you believe in two-term as you say, why are you interfering with Banisa? Why are you interfering with Malava? Why are you interfering with now even his own backyard, Baringo? If William Ruto was popular and if UDA was popular, do you think he would call anybody to State House?
What makes you think he's the one who called Gideon? What if it's Gideon who called?
Why would Gideon call him?
I mean, rumor has it that now Kanu is set to get CS posts
And
in
then?
the incoming reshuffle.
What will they do with that CS post?
Politics is interests. He
Let me
gets
tell
his
you.
business done.
William Ruto meets with Moi. And when they're discussing with Gideon, he says now Kenya is going to become a Singapore. I mean, we just look at you and how you run your own businesses. How you run your own media outfit tells us a lot about how you run a CS position. So if your media people are crying about so many other things I don't want to mention here, what are you telling us now? You have got the capacity to make Kenya a Singapore. Come on. I mean, run your businesses so well. You know, there are people, like if you told me that the CEOs and the chairman of Equity Bank is coming, I would say you will turn Kenya into a Singapore. Because they've run their outfit so well. You know, the way Safaricom is run, the people who run Safaricom, they run it so well. If you made him Minister for Communications, I would say there is a high likelihood that Kenya is going to become a communications hub in East Africa. If you give Ministry of Finance to the people behind Equity Bank, I would say there's a likelihood that Kenya is going to become a Singapore. But you run a... no.
Now, on the following day, on Saturday, you remember President Ruto was not allowed to see Moi before. I think, I'm not even sure if he went for the burial. I don't remember. But now he went and visited the site where the late president was buried, and they were with Gideon, and there were delegates from Kanu, and they were so happy. And in that meeting, he spoke in Kalenjin, and even Gideon spoke in Kalenjin. And the key line I picked from President Ruto was, if Moi protected me, why would I not protect Gideon? Why do you think Gideon needs protection?
He needs protection from himself. If you run business well in this country and you do things the way you're supposed to do and you pay your taxes, whom do you need protection from? Sisi tuko na protection ya nani? Na hatuna chochote, hatuna hata bunduki, hatuna nguvu, but tunaishi tu. Whose protection do we have other than the grace and mercy of God? When you start finding yourself in a place where you need protection, you need to ask yourself very many questions. If you live your life right, I mean, how many good politicians retired and they had money and they were not looking for protection? Look at somebody like the late Simeon Nyachae. May he rest in peace. He had invested widely. He never needed anybody's protection. So don't tell us about protection. We don't, you can't do things the wrong way and then expect the state to protect you. Na hizi pesa zinatumiwa kununua watu. Si ni pesa zetu tu. These positions that they are being given. Can you imagine? Na Kenyans sijui kaa tutaelewana. Can you imagine creating a CS position not because you Kenyans need it? Oh, not because there's... You know, you can find someone who's a genius and say, Kenya needs this guy. He's a neurosurgeon. Let's create a position for him. Can you imagine creating a CS position because you want to please a politician? Purely, there's no other reason.
Isn't that what
there's
they
no
do?
other consideration. No, Kenyans need to stop being comfortable with that idea. That someone can create a CS position because they want to please another Kenyan. I wish they were saying, we want to create a CS position because 130 children are dying. So we want a CS in charge of maternal health. I would support that any day. We want a CS in charge of paying doctors. If that was his only responsibility, I would support that decision. But a CS in charge of making Gideon Moi happy, that's the why you're creating a whole ministry. Do you know the level of adjustments that would have to happen to create that? And the provision of an office and official vehicles and bodyguards.
Which he already has anyway.
Is madness. We shouldn't be comfortable. In fact, the day Gideon Moi is given a CS position is the day we should go to the streets and say, wait a minute. Yani children are dying. We are not even creating a department to take care of children who are dying. But somebody joins UDA and we want to create a whole ministry. Do you know what it takes to have a whole ministry? To please one Kenyan. Pana, tunapelekwa mbali sana. Hii ni upuzi.
It is bad. Okay. Interestingly, in the same meeting in Kabarak, when giving his speech, the president said he had spoken to Raila Odinga. He has spoken to, of course, Gideon. He has spoken to former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And who was the other person? And all these were about how to develop Kenya and make Kenya the Singapore they want. What do you make of that?
He's speaking to all the wrong people.
While at the same time, during his campaign, it was dynasties versus hustlers.
He's speaking to the wrong people. Which Kenyans told you they want this to become a Singapore? We have never desired that our country becomes a Singapore. If you want to make a Singapore, go and become president of Singapore. What Kenyans wanted is to see value from their wheat. They wanted value from their bananas. They wanted value from their rice. They wanted value from the sweat that they put into their work. If you have dreams of making a Singapore, go to Singapore. What we bequeathed and what Kenyans, when they were voting for William Ruto, those who voted for him, he's now my president. And if I didn't vote for him, by the way, I didn't vote for him, and I've always told you I didn't. But he's now my president. Now, if he was voted for by Kenyans, none of them had gone to the ballot in mind saying that they want to change Kenya into a Singapore. No. We had said that we want a better life for Kenyans in Kenya. We are not looking to be a more... You know the way you grow up thinking that you are going to become like somebody else. No, we want to be the best version of ourselves. This country is inherently Kenya. It is beautiful as a Kenyan. We want to have a Kenyan state that works. If you have fantastic ideas about Singapore, go to Singapore. What Kenyans want is a truly natural Kenyan. Have you ever heard of another country that is... Look, you know, ni vile tulikuwa watoto wadogo ati unasikia kasichana kanasema mimi nataka kuwa Celine Dion. Unakachapa kofi unakaambia pumbafu. Wewe ni Naomi. Become the best version of Naomi. Wewe ni Njeri. Become the best version of Njeri. I can't be here growing up and saying I want to become Obama. Why are we idealizing other people? I want to become the best version of Fanya Mambo. Something that is unique. Can you imagine if Mandela grew up saying he wants to be Bill Clinton? Then he would have become Bill Clinton. He would not have become Mandela. Mandela is iconic because he was an African leader who was African in every sense of the word. And he was attractive. Na zile shati zake, he didn't like the tie ya Bill Clinton. Now we are aping. We are apes. Kila kitu unataka tu kuwa kama watu wengine. You are never yourself. We are beautiful. Mandela was handsome with his gray hair. Hakutamani nywele ya mzungu. Hakutamani shati za wazungu. You know, he had his iconic shirts. He had his way. But Mandela became who he was because he was himself. Sisi hatutaki hiyo Singapore yenyu ya kitu sitasema hata hiyo jina. Usinifukuze huku.
My big question is why the three names were dropped.
Which
and
names?
What the names of Uhuru and Raila, and of course now Gideon, and what that means for the citizens.
It tells you, the citizens, that William Ruto is no longer listening to you. He's listening to the dynasties. He's one of them. He hated you, the poor people, and he used you and he lied to you that this government is for hustlers. But when he needs to consult on important things, he consults dynasties. He's telling you, those are the important people to him.
When you look at the population of Kenya, biggest chunk, 60, I think now 70% is the young people.
Yeah.
And none of them is mentioned in these conversations. And the dream they build, these guys are 50, 60, who want to build the dream Kenya for people who are in their 20s and 30s. How practical is that?
Like now?
Is the vision, do we have a common vision?
Can you think about it this way? Your president goes to IMF. He borrows 5 billion for a program called Nyota, which they allege, because it's an allegation, that they are going to give to 100,000 young people. But who will pay? Every other Kenyan, including those who never got that loan, because it's a loan.
Yeah.
So why are you heaping upon me a loan that I am supposed to pay because you borrowed that money to give some 100,000 young people that I don't know, and some of them wataenda anunue KC? Then mimi nilipe. Come on. They are committing crimes against young people because you are heaping up on us burdens that we shouldn't carry. Can you imagine mtoto mwenye anazaliwa leo anaambua kuna kalon kalikopo ka 5 billion, watu wakapewa wakanunua KC wakakunywa, so wewe ndi utalipa hii loan. You are committing a crime against every young person who is being born today by borrowing money in a stupid way and heaping the responsibility to pay on these people who are coming. Because IMF is not going to say, we want to come up with a program to identify specifically these 100,000 people so that this money can come back from them. They want to borrow money and then haphazardly scatter that 5 billion to all of us to pay because it was given to 100,000 people that we don't know. And the institution borrowing this 5 billion has allocated 12 billion to itself. Come on. So when you hear him say that he means well for young people, he doesn't. He means evil for them because a loan borrowed is an evil thing heaped upon us to pay.
So with now the Gideon Moi factor in, of course, Ruto is a chess master, always in politics. It's rumored that we're expecting a reshuffle to happen Who do you think is going to be in or out? Or how is that going to play?
Now, first is look at his cabinet. Show us one person who is outstanding. You know, when you looked at Uhuru's cabinet, you would say Matiang'i was outstanding. And by the way, he did well in education. We saw the yellow buses, we saw exam. You know, we saw a child from a poor school, a school that was not known, leading the country. Fairness came into place. Stealing of exams ikaisha. Historia kusikia ki-national school, kila mtu amepata A ikaisha. So he was outstanding. You would feel that if we lose if we lose Matiang'i from this ministry, it's not a good thing. Now show me one guy who is outstanding. In fact, sometimes I have to Google who is the minister for what. If I told you name 5 ministers in this cabinet from the top of your head, and Mwai Kibaki, you'd mention Michuki. You'd say the Michuki rules. Something that stood out and you could tell is the effort of one particular minister. Sasa wengine wote, who has brought out something transformational, something worthy of us emulating. If anything, I feel they should get rid of Duale. If they have to get rid of someone, let them get rid of Duale. He's just insulting the media.
That's never going to happen.
You see? So
I think he's a right man, so it's politics again.
Any person they remove and replace with Gideon Moi, it's the same thing. What's the difference?
So you don't feel like it's going to make any
difference? Ministers, we have to Google by name and know who they are and what they do. Yet we watch news every day. You know, when you do something outstanding, people discuss you, even in traffic. Hey, on a yellow school bus, on a yellow school bus, on a yellow school bus. It was very easy to talk about Matiang'i. Sasa wengine wote, what is there?
Okay.
When Kalonzo Musyoka was Minister for Foreign Affairs, and by the way, I wish that man well. I do, I honestly do. When he was Minister for Foreign Affairs, we saw his outstanding work in Sudan. The peace that the Sudanese enjoyed for a very good period of time was his work. Sasa sahi nani yako Foreign Affairs? What is going on? So that's why I'm saying we don't care who he removes and who he replaces. To us, they all look the same.
Okay. Now, all of this politics is based on the 2027 election, either way you look at it. And towards that, voter registration is very critical because, as you say, you don't care. But then IEBC is carrying out registration, and they reported that in a month they only registered 20,000 people. And the target was it 6 million or 600? What's the problem? Why?
You know, Sarah, you are a young person. And I don't know why you are surprised that we have low voter turnout.
I am surprised because I had expectations.
Let me explain to you. You come with Vasco da Gama ideas into 2025 and you want to register young people in 2025. You cannot have a voter registration exercise that looks like we are living in the era of Vasco da Gama and expect young people. These young people are tech savvy. They open a whole bank account from their phone.
Yeah.
They borrow loans from their own account, from the phone, from the comfort of their phone. When they need a pizza, it's delivered to their house. Most of what they do, these young people are so tech savvy, they can design a whole website from the comfort of their bedrooms. Now you are telling them to go into an archaic Vasco da Gama kind of idea as to how to register them to become voters. They're asking themselves, why can't I register? They want an American visa. They register from the comfort of their home and they get a whole American visa. IEBC of 2025 is registering, umeona uto tuvitabu twao, twa upuzi. How are you registering Gen Zs using those old books, those old systems? Munajaza nini na bairo huko? Mtu anaenda kupanga line? I mean, for the first time, let us be reasonable, people. You cannot target Gen Zs using the methods of kivuitu. Because that's what they are doing. Ukimaliza hapo unapewa kakadi, voters card. Come on. Those are kivuitu ideas. We are in 2025. These Gen Zs are telling you, come on. Why didn't you employ young people into your secretariat to help you come up with a way? You can sell a car today, a whole car, a whole border, and you transfer that car from here. And that logbook uploads itself on NTSA, and it doesn't have 2 logbooks. Yeah. So what are you telling us? That a young person has to leave home. ukikuja kwetu Dagoretti South, the voter registration center where it is, and you look at the corners of our constituency, some people have to pay as much as 200 shillings to go and register as voters. This is not a voter registration exercise. It's an anti-voter registration exercise. It has been put in place categorically to make it very difficult for young people to go and register as voters.
So now, which I understand where you're coming from, because I would want to do it from the comfort of anywhere. But now that is what we have, are we going to say if you've been on the streets because you want change and you do not register because there is no system of doing it online, what are you doing?
No, what I'm saying is this. First, is our people are disenfranchised. Kwetu Dagoretti ukikuja mtu mwenye ako Motoine ili akuje pale Kawangware kuvote, they need 200 shillings, which they don't have.
Yes.
They would have to walk the whole day to go and pick up a voter's card. The question becomes, why are they not making this voter registration accessible to the people? The whole idea is to say young people don't want to be registered as voters. Wale wanaregister wachache ni wenye wako karibu na hapo, wenye hawalipi fare. And then give us fare for our young people to go there and vote and then register as voters. But also secondly, why aren't you even at least moving it to the closest shopping center, to the closest church, so that young people can vote can register as voters from there? So yeah, let us be positive also in looking at what is going through the lives of our young people.
So we need to challenge them to take them to, because when they are giving polio, the guys who do polio go to churches.
Ukiangalia the voter register, I mean, if you look at some constituencies like Kibwezi, do you know what's the size of Kibwezi constituency? Kibwezi is so big. And hafu wameweka one polling station, one registration station. Some parts of Kibwezi, to get to that polling, you need 300 shillings one way and another 300 shillings the other way. How many young people have got that kind of money? So this, I am not surprised that the numbers are low. But also let me spin it a bit and make it more interesting for you. Who is registering? IBC. Who is telling you the numbers are low?
Of course, IBC.
Who appointed this IBC? Do you think, have you ever thought that at the back of your mind, that Ethicon and William Ruto would be happy if young people registered as voters? If anything, they are happy to report that young people are not registering. Even if they were registering, they would still report they are not registering. So that the outcome huko mbele watasema Gen Z voters are very few on the voters register. Oh, they are happy to report that we have very few young people. So the people who voted were older people who we have always managed to brainwash and who are always voting on a tribal line. Young people, let us own this narrative. Kama unachukua kura, enda na simu. Take a video. Tell people nimechukua kura. Kama kuna watu kwa line, share that video. Let people know that people are queuing to take videos. People are queuing to vote, to register as voters. That way, we shall counter the narrative of young people are not registering. This is IBC news. Why are you thinking it is gospel truth?
That's a very interesting theory, but I would never
IBC
doubt
news.
It's politics.
It is IBC news. We want now to raise... the person holding the pen is the person who writes the story.
Yeah.
Now, you've allowed IBC to write a story, and this is not a youth-friendly IBC. This is not a Gen Z-friendly IBC. They know you people don't like this administration. So they will say you are not registering. And you people are there saying, hey, hata young people hawaku register. Kwa hivyo kama iliibiwa, ni ukweli kwa sababu hatuna kura, munachukua kura. Let your story be known.
Let your story be known.
Yes.
Very nice. I love that. Now, the other thing I would want to understand, how significant are by-elections in Kenya, such that we have someone like Gideon withdrawing and UDA stamping that they are getting support?
If you want to know how significant elections are,
by-elections in particular.
By-elections, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta allowed UDA to field up a candidate in Kiambu, which was very close to his home. It is within Kiambu. And the day UDA won, that's the day the UDA wave picked up. And people believed in Mount Kenya that UDA will sweep the whole of Mount Kenya. They started ignoring Jubilee and they started warming up to UDA. And William Ruto knows that very well. That's why you'll hear stories about the Banisa candidate. You'll hear stories about every other candidate who is vying on DCP. Because they know if DCP picks up a seat in a place like Banisa that is not within Mount Kenya, how will you call it a tribal party? The idea has always been to brand the party DCP as a tribal party. If DCP wins Banisa, if DCP wins that MP seat we are going for somewhere within Kwale, if DCP wins seats that are not within Mount Kenya, do you know what that means? It means that DCP is not a tribal party, DCP is not a local party, and DCP is a Kenyan party. And that is reason to worry. That's why they will do anything they can and everything within their power to make sure that only UDA has candidates. It's just that they couldn't stop the by-elections in Mbere. But I can tell you for free, UDA is losing with their Movende there.
Ah.
Yeah, they're going to lose. And that's why you saw what the things that are happening this weekend.
Okay. Now that you've brought the issues of tribal issues, now I've remembered when even Gachagua said it, that when he's gathered and meets the Mount Kenya people, it becomes they're being tribal. Yeah. But when Gideon Moi meets President Ruto, which is, of course, they are Kalenjins, it's known, then that is unity and nothing parochial. I don't know the words that the president, it's not about a person, it's not about me. But when it goes to Mount Kenya, it's being tribal. Where do we draw the line of tribe and national interest?
Watu wa Mount Kenya, I want to address you. Excuse me. And I want to address you specifically and tell you something. Mtu asikuchukia alafu na ujichukie. You know, someone hates you and then you decide to hate yourself. Let me explain. So when the Kisi meet, it's Egesa. It's okay. When the Luya meet, they call it Mulembe Nation. It's a beautiful thing. Natembeya is always speaking of Luya unity. Nobody calls him a tribal leader. William Ruto himself is speaking of Kalenjin unity. He even gets Gideon Moi. He even appoints so many of his people to cabinet. It's not a tribal affair. Watu wa Mount Kenya mukimit tu hata muende ngemi. Just the same way they go for Luya night or Abagusi night. We just go for our ngemi and we drink our muratina. Hey, tribal. And then within our own ranks, our own Kikuyu bloggers, wanapatiwa tu, affordable bloggers, tu pesa kidogo. And I can mention some of them, I can't even stand them. They start saying that Kikuyus are tribal. What is wrong with us? We meet and we say that we have discussed as the people from the mountain that we want to go for ngemi. Or we want to unite and put our votes in one basket that will take care of our tea, our coffee, the reason why people vote together is not because it is the most convenient thing. Sometimes it's not even convenient to vote together. But if we all live in Embu and Mbere region and there's the whole of Moyatabere, we want to bring our votes together and make somebody an MP who will fight for our rice, for example. And we want to vote for someone who will fight for our avocado, for example. And we want to do that at MP level all the way to presidential level. So when we are meeting about our interests and saying that as this region, because there's something we produce that other regions do not produce, we want somebody who at the national level will take care of our interest. And it only becomes useful if our vote is put in one basket. Then Munambo, it is tribal. It's not tribal. We are in the same region. We have the same cash crop. We have the same interests. And therefore, we are voting for our interests. So don't come and tell us we are tribal. By the way, we have no apologies for meeting as Kikuyus. No. You are to apologize. In fact, have you ever heard us telling the Luyas you are tribal? Have you ever heard us telling the Kalenjins you are tribal? Have you ever heard us telling the Abagusi you are not going to meet because you are tribal? Why do we have you telling us we are tribal and then we accept? Hatutakubali. Ile siku mutaacha meeting zenyu as tribes, come and tell us to stop ours. In fact, what we will do is we'll scale up our meetings. Tutaziongezea. Because we have never sat to discuss how we are going to disparage another community. We have never sat as a community and said, sisi ni Wakikuyu, tunaenda kuua wale, ama tunaenda kupiga wale, ama tunaenda kuchoma wale. We have never had those conversations. When we meet as the Kikuyu nation, we say, what do we want for our tea? What do we want for our coffee? Who best takes care of that interest? What do we want for our avocado? And who best represents that interest? We have never met and said, oh, sasa, Wajaluo tutafanya. No. In fact, we never discuss other communities when we meet as a community. We don't. We are not interested. Why would we meet as Kikuyus to discuss the Luya? We always meet as Kikuyus to discuss our tea, our coffee. The Meru meet to discuss their Mera. Sasa utaambia wa Meru wasimit na wakimit wasiongea Kimeru na wanaongea juu ya miraa yao. Nyinyi hamuna miraa, mtaki waongee juu ya miraa yao. Let the Meru meet, let them discuss their miraa. And once they discuss their miraa, let them decide which president best takes care of their miraa interest.
Okay.
If you don't fit the bill, don't say Wameru ni wakabila. No.
So let people meet.
Yes.
Okay. I would also want to say, over the weekend there were, I don't know, there was UDA in Embu meetings and all that, and I hear there's a lot of politics going on against between the Cecily Mbarire team, who's the governor of Embu, and the Manyata MP Mukunji. What is happening? Why is there violence? I thought Embu was a quiet town.
They have been selling their movende in that whole place. Have you ever had youths allied to DCP or Jubilee or DP going to attack anybody allied to UDA? Wanaleta hizo maharagwe zao, wanaleta hizo unga zao wanapea watu, wanaleta hizo pesa zao wanapea watu. I have not had Justin Muturi, Rigathi Gachagua, or Mokonji, or any other person who is within the united opposition accused of sponsoring goons. In fact, there has never been violence meted against UDA people when they are doing their things for their movende uko kwao.
So basically it's the Mbeere North seat that is causing all these problems.
No, this is the thing. It is terrible leaders who can't stand others who are causing this problem. Because why is it there ati saa zile DCP inaenda huko ama DP ndio kunaletwa fujo? It's just terrible leaders. I can tell you for free, Movende has been campaigning there unabated, undisturbed, uninterrupted. He goes where he wants, he does what they want. They are giving people money, it's voter bribery, we know. It's okay, tumesema watu wetu wakule pesa, they have been hungry for some time. It's fine. But if nobody is interfering with your Movende, why do you have a problem with when people come to campaign for Newton Karish? I think this is democracy. They need to learn from Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. When Kawajiko was being campaigned for in Kiaba, did you ever hear skirmishes? Government would have sponsored goons to interfere with Kawajiko's campaign. Jubilee never did that. In fact, at some point, I remember one time we went to campaign for our Jubilee candidate. And tulipitana na watu wa UDA. Wakiwa wamevaa hizo mahwilibaro zao za yellow. Na sisi we had our red dove. Na tukasalimiana. And we showed love and respect for one another. Hii upuzi imeanza kuletwa na akina Cecily. The truth is that is the truth. Because sisi hakuna siku tumeattack candidate wao, and we will not. And when I say sisi, I mean the whole united opposition. Hatujasikia Kalonzo amepanga goons. Hatujasikia Matiang'i, hatujasikia Rigiji. Nobody has planned goons against their UDA candidate. Let them respect the campaign meetings that have been arranged by the united opposition.
Okay. I hope the governor and the people of Embu
But they also do
something
something stupid. They come and say that Rigiji insulted Waiguru, governor,
Kirinyaga.
in Kirinyaga.
And there were demos yesterday.
They come
Was it
and
protests?
say they are doing protests or demos because, according to them, and I can quote them, Rigiji has disrespected women and their woman governor. But then they go ahead to disrespect themselves on tarmac. Yani vile walikuwa nalala wakiinua miguu, I'm like, surely, nyinyi ndio mnasema tuwaheshimu. Tunataka, lakini tunashindwa. You know, I can come, I'm ready to respect you because you said women deserve respect, and I am ready. And then there are certain things you do on the tarmac, and I look at you and I say, even my own child, even a child coming from nursery school, akikuona ukifanya hizo vitu, they'll never respect you. So the women who went to demand for respect on the streets, those particular ones, not all the women in Kenya, those particular women who went on the streets to demand respect for women in their area, disrespected themselves, disrespected women, and caused other Kenyans to have a lot more disrespect for them than they would have had respect. Yani unaenda kudemand heshima, alafu unafanya utoto. Yani walifanya vitu kwa hiyo barabara.
Contract they were given.
But still, you know,
politics, money moves around, and he who pays the piper calls the tune.
There are things you do that earn you respect. And there are things you do that earn you disrespect.
Maybe they were there to earn money, not respect.
Those people have permanently caused even other women who were not part of that to be disrespected because they said surely, aki mnasema tu respect wa mama na tunataka na tumejitolea. Sasa zile tumekuja kuwaangalia wakiitisha respect, zile vitu wanafanya kwa barabara. Hata kama ulikuwa na mtoto unamwambia funga macho juu hiki kirinda kinaweza inuka vibaya. So we wish to tell them, next time if you are paid to do that kind of thing, do it in a manner that will cause us to want to respect you even more. Do it in a manner that will attract us to you. But the way in which you did it cost yourselves a lot of disrespect. And for the faint-hearted people, it made them even disrespect even women who were not part of that demonstration. I still have profound respect for all the other women. Wewe mi sitakukosea heshima juu unaonanga hata leo umevaa kakoti ka Margaret Thatcher.
Wow.
Margaret Thatcher. So you're respectful and you've respected yourself. But those ones did not respect themselves.
Hey, the people of Kirinyaga, we need to have a conversation on the side. We need to talk. Okay, as we come to an end, the NDC wiper happened last weekend.
I was
and
there.
You were there. Oh, nice. How was it?
It was a beautiful event. Beautiful in the sense that I don't know what it is about Kalonzo Musyoka.
I was going to ask. Everyone around the country, most people are saying that in the opposition, the person who fits the bill is Kalonzo Musyoka. And the only thing they doubt is that he's been a watermelon for quite a long time. And never say never for any politician. Do you think Kalonzo, if enticed well by the president, will not switch?
Question for question. The first
Yes.
one is the NDC was beautiful. Kalonzo is this one politician who, what he does with 10 shillings, others would need 200 bob. Because I could tell not a lot of resources went into Uhuru Park compared to what other politicians would spend. But with money, there's a way in which Kalonzo is able to achieve a lot with less, which is a good thing for leaders. But secondly, he's coming out as a favorite. And it's interesting because even when they went to Kirinyaga with Rigiji, you could see the reception. Even Embu, whenever Kalonzo is called, the way those people were yelling was twice as loud as they would even yell for Rigiji himself. It tells you that people have started forming a very good opinion about Kalonzo Musyoka and the possibility of him becoming a presidential candidate and the possibility of him, leading this country in 2027. Personally, I would vote for him any day. I would vote for Kalonzo. I mean, he fits the bill. We've had a president full of bravado on top of vehicles saying a lot of things. Kalonzo to me looks like a Kibaki. He's measured in what he says. I've had an opportunity to sit down with him. When you tell Kalonzo sometimes he sits back and he thinks very deep and very far before he responds. I see a huge likelihood or similarity between Kalonzo and Kibaki. And after all this acrimony, Kenya is looking for a person who can bring down this political temper, this political, aggression. We are looking, people will say, oh, he's soft-spoken, oh, he doesn't have the oomph, he's not. Kalonzo is charismatic, by the way. The only thing he's not abrasive. And who told you we need a politician we need a president who is abrasive? Kenya is not at war. Kenyans are thinking we are going to war with Uganda, so you need a president who is abrasive. No. Kalonzo fits the bill. He's polite. In fact, we need a guy who will bring our tempo from here and bring it down. And told guys to Rudy, let's work. Yeah. Would he join William Ruto? Now, there is 2 years to go. We've done 3. The first time I ever heard Kalonzo Musyoka saying that William Ruto is looking for him was after the first year. Why would you want to sacrifice the possibility of becoming president he has become deputy president in this republic. So, ni nini hiyo atapewa? The only thing that Kalonzo would take from Ruto is something bigger than what he has become. He has become vice president. So why would he want to take up a ministerial position now? What would that benefit him with? I mean, I have been a school principal. You're telling me to come and become a discipline master in your school. Why would I want that?
What if he doesn't want to be president?
Who said he doesn't want to be
I'm
president?
saying
He
possibly.
declared.
What
He
if?
declared he wants to be president, and he is going to be president because Kenyans will vote for him. But also, I think Kalonzo Musyoka has proven to us beyond reasonable doubt that at this point in time, he's not available for sale. People call him a watermelon. I would want to know why. I would want to know why. Because I have sat to think about why Kalonzo Musyoka is being called a watermelon. For supporting Raila 3 times continuously? Is that not a man who is consistent? He comes, they were saying CORD, he supports Raila. The following time they were saying NASA, he supports Raila.
Because people expected he would run to the end.
Even at a time when he was not being the running mate and Raila had picked Mother Karua, he still supported Baba. Isn't that consistency? I mean, I don't hold brief
That is
for
where
him,
the watermelon
but I
came
like
from.
being fair. No. People are calling him a watermelon because they wanted him to vie.
Yes.
But ask yourself, at that point in time, was vying the right decision? Vying was not the right decision. Especially in 2022, when every other person who was right-thinking knew that William Ruto is not a good president for Kenya. And so Kalonzo going it alone would have scattered the votes. Let me tell you why Kalonzo is important, and people don't understand. You remember the 207 skirmishes,
Yes.
post-election violence. Kalonzo Musyoka got 800,000 votes. According to IEBC that time, the difference between Kibaki and Raila was about 400,000 votes. If Kalonzo had supported Raila then, Raila would have won with what he had plus 800,000 votes. If Kalonzo had supported Kibaki in 2007, there would have been no post-election violence because the margin would have been too big. Come to think of it, we moved from 2007 to 2013. Can you imagine if Kalonzo Musyoka had vied on his own? Munataka kumuita watermelon juu hakuvai. Let's imagine he vied on his own. He'd probably have gotten 1.2 or 1.3 million votes. Hived off from Raila. There would have been no court case in 2013. The difference would have been so huge, there would have been no court case. Or probably would have gone into a rerun. How much money would Kenya have spent on a rerun? 2017, we come again. Kalonzo Musyoka is being told, oh, you're a watermelon, vie alone. He would have vied alone. I would take away 1.5 million or 2 million votes from what Raila had in 2017 and tell us if Justice Maraga would have called for an election again. We would not have had a repeat election in 2017. So Kalonzo Musyoka fortified Raila's candidature. He made it look credible. He made it look sensible for Raila to vie. In fact, Raila without Kalonzo in 2027 would have been left with such a huge margin. Hata angeona aibu.
2022, you mean?
Alificha, no, 2017, so 2022, yes. Alificha Raila aibu kubwa sana. So let us be respectful of that statesman. And I call him a statesman at this because sasa hebu niambieni skando ya Kalonzo. Munatafutanga mnakosa.
I remember one thing he did. I think he was the Minister of Education. You know, Kalonzo is the one who stopped caning of students in school. So that's something I remember him for also.
Wewe ulikuwa noti shule ulikuwa unachapwa wewe.
Kuchapwa. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I think let us be fair to him. And I mean, sometimes like I can't come here and say bad things about Matiang'i if they are untrue, or bad things even about Ruto. I only say those things that are true.
Okay.
So everything I'm saying about Kalonzo is because it's true. And the things I say even about Matiang'i is because I believe them to be true. I mean, I've given him his flowers for when he was Minister for Education.
Yeah.
So we can't take away from a good person something that is good about them.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's a great statesman, very respectable. Of course, anyone who doesn't know, Kalonzo played a big part in the Sudan finding peace, ending war, and all that. Okay, as we come to the end, we have 2 Kenyans, Nicholas Oyo and Bob Njagi, who were abducted in Uganda. They've been missing for 2 weeks now, and as of now, we don't know where they are. The families are distraught. The Kenya Foreign Affairs has not really given a convincing or official statement. At what point do we take care of people as just the fact that they are Kenyans and they are part of us?
I've always asked people, if these are American citizens who had been missing under such circumstances in Uganda, what would happen? if these were British citizens missing under such circumstances in Uganda, what would happen? Bring it closer. If this was the president's son missing in Uganda under such circumstances, what would happen? I think let us show that we have value for our people. And let us at least even ask a question. The law of most countries, including Kenya, is that if you commit a crime in this country, you'll be prosecuted under our laws here in the country. But at the same time, it is incumbent upon the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to tell us what is happening to our people. The families deserve to know what is happening to their people outside, because they themselves might end up traveling one day to a foreign country and something of that kind happens to them. They would want their own families told the truth about what's going on. So Foreign Affairs, over to you. We want to hear exactly what is happening to our people, and we want an answer. That's why the Ministry of Foreign Affairs exists, among other reasons. Yeah.
Okay. And we actually pray and hope that these Kenyans will be found alive, safe, and return to, return home.
Yeah.
Everyone needs
And
to be
not
home.
tortured.
Yeah, because it's unfortunate. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that they are getting lost at a point where we have campaigns and we know how Uganda happens with all such things. But we pray that they're safe.
And it's a very interesting year because this time around, Uganda and Tanzania are having the elections around the same time.
No, Uganda should be next year.
Uganda will be next year. Yeah. No, they've started their campaigns too early. They've learned from us.
Yeah,
because Tanzania season. Always campaigns during the election year.
Yeah.
They campaign only during the election year. And we know Samia is running against Suluhu. There are only two people on the ballot. The first one is Samia, then there's another one called Suluhu. They have really emasculated the opposition. You jail your opponents. I don't know. They just run that country like a personal pass.
I think East Africa needs to work on what they call the democracy.
Kenya is trying, in as much as we are also being stifled, but we are progressive.
I like the hope.
Yeah, we are progressive.
Inspiring hope.
We are progressive because some of the questions you ask here, you can't ask in Tanzania.
Yeah,
true. I studied there for some time, and every time someone asked me something about politics, I kept quiet. I told them, mimi siasa ya Tanzania staki.
For your own
yeah, I mean, sasa nitaanza kufanywa vitu zingine wanafanya watu huko. I'm okay the way I am. So,
okay.
Yeah. If I have to sacrifice, I'm sacrificing for my country, not for their own problems there.
Okay, and we wish them the very best, Tanzania, in your elections. It's actually this month. We're waiting to see how that goes. Anyway, your parting shots.
My parting shots is that I would like IEBC to take seriously the idea of voter registration. Think of changing how you're doing it. Mambo ya Vasco da Gama voting systems and registration. Think about it deeply. I would like to urge the young people also take the time to make the sacrifice. If you have to pay some little fare to go there, do whatever you need to do. I mean, just get there. And finally, I would like to say that the young people who are here today, we are looking to having you play a centrifugal role in the next election, not just as voters, but also as people who help us. For example, last election, they said there were more than 5,000 ghost polling stations. This time round, as young people, we shall walk to all of them and pin a location and take photos of wakisema kuna Kachapil voting station, whatever the name of that polling station. We shall make sure that there are some young people who've gone there hata kama wataenda na motorbike, and they take a photo so that we know. For all the funny polling stations this time round, aki hakuna yenye haitajulikana.
Macho.
Yeah, hakuna yenye haitajulikana.
Very good with that. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. It's been very...
But there's something happening.
Where?
Na imehappen hata huko kwetu Dagoretti. Voter registration is also happening at a point in time when we have foreigners who are coming and boasting and saying tumepewa kura. Na let me tell you, nilikutana na wengine mpaka nikaonyeshwa mahali wanakaa. Ati wameletwa, wamesema ati wameletwa na mheshimiwa fulani watapiga kura. I want to send a message to every foreigner. Okay, first, like my constituency has got 120,000 voters. You cannot possibly bring 120,000 people as foreigners. So stop wasting your money, you funny politicians. But number two, and most importantly, and this is very, 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 very critical. Wewe kama ni foreigner, we are sending a message to you that on the voting day, ata kangumu, ata kahawa, Usikuje kuuzia karibu na polling station. Leave alone to vote. We shall be very kind to our foreigners all the way until the morning of the voting. Wewe kama ni foreigner hii inchi na unajidanganya uko na kura, stay 100 meters away from every polling station. Hii mambo ni yetu sisi wa Kenya, tutaitatua. Wewe hiyo siku tumekupea holiday, ulale, uone tukivote kwa TV, ungojee matokeo kwa TV. After the counting has been done, kuja uendelee kuuza ngumu na chai. This is a message that Kenyans have told me to pass to all the foreigners who are thinking that they will queue to vote. If you are a foreigner and you are imagining that you will queue to vote, I am telling you utatolewa kwa queue. Sisi hatuendangi kupiga kura Ethiopia, hatupigi kura Eritrea, hatupigi kura Burundi, na nyinyi musipige kura kwetu. Hiyo siku hata kangumu ukitaka kuuza, unasimama mbali, unajiandika hapa foreigner. Mimi nauza kangumu na chai. We will have peace with you. The only time we are willing to disturb our peace is if we find you in a queue. Because you'll tell us, you as a Burundian, you as an Eritrean, you as whatever, what are you doing in our queue? Sisi tunawapenda na tunaishi na nyinyi kwa amani. Na you will never sit, tuko na wengi sana huku. And we love them. This is one country where we've allowed foreigners to roam around. Lakini kwa polling station,
stay away. Please,
just measure 100 meters. Kama uji, unapiga 50 steps hivi, zingine unaongeza. Na ukiona hauko safe, unaongeza 10, unakuwa 110. That way, we will love you forever. Tutaendelea kununua kangumu yako, we will continue to be friends. Ukikanyanga polling station, upange line, tutakutoa kwa line.
All right.
No foreigner will vote. So nyinyi wenye munapatia foreigners, wapatieni. But we guarantee you, Kenyans have decided they will not vote.
Message is home.
Yes.
Foreigners have heard that. Kenyans have heard you. And everyone else who's been watching has heard you. It's been very interesting having this conversation, and hopefully looking forward to the next one. Thank you for coming through. And to you who's been watching, we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you.